We're here with Jairek Robbins. Hi, Jairek. How are you?
Doing good, and yourself?
Okay, good. You just finished your speech here at the Empowerment Conference. What were you talking about?
We were talking about a few things. I was using more of Tony's material just as a base there to introduce people to who Tony is, what he's been doing over the last 20, 30 years of his life and career, and to show them the more so stepping stone information to how to really apply this to their life, their business, to get that extraordinary quality of life and business that most people are looking for.
You must be a little prejudiced. I think Jairek is Tony Robbins' son, right?
Correct.
And so you've been brainwashed. What do you mean?
Brainwashed, okay.
Okay. No, obviously you think highly of your dad's thinking?
I do. And what's interesting is a lot of people, they always ask, how'd you get started? Where'd it come from? And the truth is, it was a personal decision. I look back at my life, and I was doing my own thing all the way until 15, 16, 17 years old, making my own decisions, doing my own life, playing football, playing polo, doing everything a normal teenager would do. Living life, hanging out with friends every day. And I finally sat down, and my thought was, if I keep running into all these people at these Tony events who keep telling me this stuff works and having all these great results, and I was running to like a 15-year-old who started her own company, made stuff happen. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm 17, she's 15, and she has her own company. How did that happen? It's like, none of my friends have a company. Why? And I talked to her, and I was like, well, what happened? And she told me, she said, honestly, what would happen is I listened to material, and it worked, and I applied it. And so I looked at my life, and I said, well, if it works for them, it's got to work for me. So I sat down 15 and a half, 16 years old, popped in my first tape, and started listening to it. And my initial thought, like any child's, was, I'm going to see if Dad's really right. I'm going to see if this stuff's real or if it's just this way of thinking for other people. So I plugged it in to test it. I was an attempt to see if it worked, and if not, prove them wrong, like any child would. And so I'm going through it, and I started listening to it, and I just started doing everything it said, and pretty soon I went from a C and D student to an A student in a year. I went from, silly as it sounds, I was, what was I? Like 5'9", 225 going into high school. And within 1 year, I applied myself. I joined the wrestling team, joined the basketball team, joined the football team. And all of a sudden, natural growth process, I'm guessing as a teenager, but I slimmed up down to 180 pounds. I won third place in city championships in wrestling in high school. And from that point on, things started going the way. I decided which college I wanted to, used the tools, figured out how to get there, attempted it, didn't get the result the first time, reapplied, got the result. And at that point, I became a believer. I looked around and said, wow, if stuff happened that fast with these tools, I guess they do work.
But as you were growing up, until you were 15, I mean, you know, my mother was a librarian, and I hardly read a book. I sort of was the kind of kid who, you know, sort of rebelled a little bit. You know, I would read the cover of a book, but I wasn't a good reader. You know, for whatever the reason was, and she didn't really push it down my throat either. For whatever reason, I didn't do it. Do you think maybe for whatever reason you didn't? I mean, your dad was, I mean, these are his belief structure, right?
Right.
What he speaks on. And so in essence, I would only imagine, and you lived in the house, that these would have been the way that he would have conducted his life or spoke to you as his own son, right?
Right, absolutely. Truthfully, the biggest thing he ever shared with me as a father and as a human being, as another person, is the power of choice. And his question would be, people have asked, have you ever messed up in life? I'm like, of course I've messed up. I'm a person. I'm a kid. I've come home with a bad grade. I've come home where things didn't work out. I've messed up on a play. I've done something that I didn't think was appropriate in my own mind. And his biggest question was not, why did you do that, or what happened, or how'd that work? It was, what did you learn? What would you do better next time? How could you improve on that? How would you make it more like the way you want to have it instead of dealing with what everyone thinks you should do? And he would use his coaching tools, which are great tools, to help coach me back on track. And what I grew up knowing is the fact that I can choose to do, go, be any person that I want to be and apply whatever it is. And people say, well, that's easy for you because you grew up and, you know, Tony has all this money and Tony's done all these great things. And the truth is he was doing all those great things as I grew up. He wasn't always there like he is now. He was creating the technology. He was living on the road 300 days a year, applying this material, teaching it to people, making that difference. And truthfully, as much as it sounds like he was on the road and never there, it was the exact opposite. I felt like he was in my life more than most people, my friends, think their parents were there, even though their parent was there every day.
Interesting. Let me ask you a question. I've never interviewed your dad or spoken with him, so I don't know much about his background and history, and I haven't heard his cassettes, so on and so forth. His parents. Where do you think your dad got his belief structure?
If you talk to any of his brother or sister, they all laugh and joke around. They're like, he's an alien. And I goof around because they put him in Men in Black on the screen where people were aliens. And I'm like, oh, we proved it. And we joke around about that just because they had their own belief structures, and his dad had his own belief structures, mom had her own belief structures. And what's interesting is brother, sister grew up with theirs, and his started forming when he came to the decision, came to the realization that you can choose them. The moment, and if you know his story, I'll just give you a brief recap.
I don't.
He was at 17, living on the back of his car, trying to figure out how to earn his life, where he was going to go, what he was going to do. He read in 1 year about 720 books in personal development and psychology. And if you read any amount of books like that, you start to realize things are available to me. If I know all these tools, all these information, I can now choose where and when I want to go. And he started to. He said, if they say I can change a belief this fast, he asked this question, what do I want to believe? What would it help me become the human being I want to become? How could I do that? And he used the materials he was learning. He found a man named Jim Rohn. He found a man named, John Grinder, who started NLP. And he started to see, wow, if this human being can go help that person get over a phobia in 10 minutes like that, he says, why can't I do it with myself? Why can't I look internally, look at a limiting belief, shift it that fast, get realigned, and go in the direction I want to go? And then he started doing it. And at 24, he was making $38,000 a year, doing pretty good, living in like he went from his 400 square foot apartment to a 1,200 square foot apartment. And in 1 year, he got enough leverage in his life where it became about something much larger than just him. And he went from $28,000 a year to $1 million a year in personal income. It's a huge jump for anybody, much less a kid without the mentor, without the schooling, without everything people say you need to be able to make that happen. He just turned on the juice and really made it happen. And when you see something like that happen, you start picking up the belief yourself. If that guy could do it, I mean, he didn't have any great beginning, so can I. And that was beautiful about it is I watched him do stuff like that and I always looked at myself and said, well, it's possible. And the other question that comes up a lot, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but people always ask, well, is there a lot of pressure? Because he's doing all this stuff, do you feel pressure? And the dead honest truth, no. Because I've learned that choice is the ultimate power of yourself. You can choose whatever you want, choose what it means, choose how you're going to do it if you're going to do it. And the other part is really learning how to enjoy every step along the journey. If it's not right here, right now, of whatever outcome I'm going after, it doesn't mean it'll never meet there. It just means it's not here right now.
Let me ask you one question. My dad had a shoe store down the street here, not far from here. And when it came to, at one point out of graduate school, making a decision of my dad's ready to give me the shoe store, I wanted show business, not shoe business. And I liked that. That was what I wanted. But for a second or two there, I wondered, should I follow in my dad's footsteps, okay? And so I guess you could say I had a choice, and I made the choice that I thought I would be more helpful for the world in communications industry. You, in essence, had a choice. You've sort of, what do you do now? What is your career, do you say as?
My career right now, I'm an associate of the company. I work with them inside, and I get to introduce this material and technology to people all around the U.S. at this point. So I'll move every 3-4 months, city to city, get to go into all types of different businesses, sales companies, executive team retreats, and retreats like this, and share with people the foundational information of everything Tony does. Share with them as a conduit to join us into other programs, join Tony and stuff he's doing, and join us to really take their life to the next level if that's what we're looking for.
Okay, so you, in essence, where I went into show business, it's entirely different. You've gone into the family, let's call it the family business of sorts, right? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do.
Are they in it as well?
They chose not to. They were for a while, and they did it for a while. It just wasn't their thing, so they chose to break off. One of them he just started another one of his own companies. Stepsister is an actress in L.A., and the other one has his own business as well down in San Diego.
Okay, so in that you are in the family business, which is how's your dad feel about that? He's probably enjoy.
He's proud. He's excited, and when it all began, when he was asking me, well, what do you really want to do? I made the choice of what I wanted to do, and he made it very clear to me. He has nothing. If I want to go do my own thing, he'd support me. He'd tell me how to do it. He'd give me the best coaching, help me find whoever I wanted as a mentor, really assist me in taking the steps towards making it happen. I'd have to do it on my own, but he'd assist me in getting the right direction or foundation. And he made it very clear, choose anything. And he was joking around with me a long time ago. He says, do you want to be a spy? Do you want to go into the FBI? What do you want to do? What's adventurous? Do you want to be a firefighter? Do you want to be a writer? What do you want to do? Anything you could do. Just imagine. And truthfully, I've been telling Mom since I was a kid, I'm like, I want to be a speaker. I want to help people change their lives. I want to volunteer, which I've done plenty of. I just got a congressional gold medal.
Yeah, I've heard. Congratulations.
Thanks. And it's mainly based on a minimum of 400 hours of community service. And I've done way more than that over the year, and that's where a true passion of mine is, just helping people. And in my perspective, that's what I get to do every day.
Okay. Your dad was in a movie. Was it a Woody Allen movie? Is that a glowing moment or not a glowing moment? It's a glowing moment. I remember it.
I think it was fun. It was actually the Farley Brothers.
Oh, the Farley Brothers movie. Okay.
And the history behind that movie is very interesting. It all started because the gentleman who wrote the movie, who was blind, actually never thought he could write the movie, never believed it, listened to the Get the Edge tapes, changed his belief, knowing I can do this and I will, wrote the script, and he actually, the part that Tony played was actually a fortune teller in the beginning. And what happened is Farley Brothers got it. They loved it. Huge fans of Tony's. They listened to all his stuff. They got the script, said, wow, this is amazing. We love it. We'll make the movie. No problem. We know who we're going to cast. And they got to the fortune teller, and they said, why don't we ask Tony if he's around? Because this would be great. And they convinced him. He was in town. He went and did it. And afterwards, it came back full circle. It all started from the gentleman who listened to those tapes originally that Tony put out of creating the script, which got to the directors, which got to Tony, which got him into the movie, which made it what it is, and gave him his cameo experience on the film there.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. It's a memorable piece. Well, it showed, in essence, respect.
It's an incredible full circle story.
Right.
It started off because he gave from his heart, gave of the information, shared everything he had on those tapes. That gentleman got it, passed the next gentleman who got it, came all the way back to Tony just to say thank you, to give him a shot, to just have some fun.
Now, it sounds like you have the same as the community service outreach, and it sounds to me very much like in your personality, in your being, in your soul, that you're here to be a help. To help people to, in essence, improve their life, to empower themselves, since we're at an empowerment event. But this is sort of what you see is, in essence, a mission that you can actually pursue.
Yeah, it's the mission. I always laugh. I'm not judgmental about what other people feel, but truthfully, just I've picked up stuff around my life, and when you're giving back to people, when you're sharing information with them, when you're sharing yourself with them, it's when you really feel alive. And it just makes you feel alive, makes you want to grow, makes you want to learn more so you can go share more with them. And it's something that when people really catch on to that, and I believe it is catching on nowadays, if you're watching all the TV series and stuff about the big give with Oprah and how giving back, and people are all looking for that in their life because they've hit a point where they've filled the physical gaps. They've filled physically, I need shelter, I need food. They've got those things, at least in this country so far. They filled the mental gaps. I really want to achieve this, I really want to achieve that. They're starting to achieve those things. They're getting everything they say they wanted. And they're looking around, and what's funny is there's the existential or spiritual gap that's something bigger than them, and it shows up and it starts to be filled when you're giving to others who are more than you. You start looking outside of yourself, and you start really feeling alive. And it's showing up for a lot of people nowadays when they start serving people beyond themselves. And it's something I'm dedicated to. I love doing it, and my big goal is to inspire other people to get involved and start helping.
It's all good. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your good news.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.